What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Mr. Madrid from the Mr. Madrid Show, and today we have an awesome guest that I actually first came across on TikTok, which is super awesome. As you guys may have known, I once upon a time, and still to today, I have a wife who kind of designates me as the DIY master.
We both have a wife that does.
Right? So a lot of times she's on TikTok and she sees different things, and then she's like, hey, you can do this, and sends me on my way. So one time I was looking up this DIY for putting a ladder on the attic access. Hopefully that's what it is. And I stumbled across Alex's page on TikTok. But what stood out to me the most was like how smooth his voice was. Like that's the part that really got me. I was like, oh man, like you could feel goosebumps. And I know we didn't say this before we talked because I was saving it. But it's just like, it's almost like a big brother type of thing that was schooling you on different things. Whether it was how to fix paint, how to just different things around the house and even outside the house. So I started following him. And I think this was probably a little bit after the pandemic that I got to start following you. And yeah, man, you've been an influence in the Madrid household. We watch your videos, and even up until today, like we just see everything you do, from the DIYs, the inspiration videos, and even how you get down with your family is just really nice. So I know that was a long-winded intro, but I'd like to welcome you onto the show, Alex.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's been super awesome watching your journey. And I think what I connect the most with is just seeing your transition, right? Going from thing to thing. And if people have followed my stuff too, from like window cleaning, pressure washing, this, that, the next, what we have in common is that we're hustlers.
Absolutely.
We're not afraid to go out there and get it. But I want to give you the opportunity to just kind of introduce yourself and, tell people, who is Alex?
First of all, Mr. Madrid, I want to thank you for inviting me over to your podcast. Definitely, once you hit me up, I was like, oh, definitely. I love his vibe. I love his setup. Let's do it. So going back to who is Alex, I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a person looking to connect and inspire people such as yourself, right? I want to be able to leave a legacy to where I use social media to inspire people, whether it's like what you said, whether it's putting up a retractable ladder in your house, or even using social media to help change that mindset for people that may get them from the lowest of lowest to becoming somebody of good.
Awesome. And yeah, like if you could talk about that, like, so from the time that I started following you, right, you already had a nice amount of followers, but what inspired you to go into what I came into, the world, the season that I came into, which was kind of like DIYs and putting people onto different ways they can do stuff on their own so they don't get taken advantage by contractors and things of that nature?
Absolutely. So when I first started TikTok, it was right during the pandemic. My daughter wanted to get on social media, and I was like, well, we'll do it just out of my phone. And at first I saw how wild TikTok was, right? I took over the account, and I think I had more fun on TikTok than she ever did. And then I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I work for this company and they give me homes, and I get to remodel all these homes. If I'm already doing the work, I might as well just record it and do a voiceover.
Yeah.
Right. So that was probably the soothing voice that you were hearing in the background. So
what is it, ASMR?
The ASMR, my daughter does a lot of that. But we went from there, and I started posting, and then even people who needed little things in their house, they're like, oh my God, you charged me X amount. They were trying to charge me 5 times what it was, right? And I was charging a good amount because I was taking in place commuting from my home to their location, right? So there was a fee included into just me showing up to your house. So it wasn't like I was lowballing anybody. Like I was charging a decent amount. And when I started making the videos and showing people how to change a sprinkler, right? There's companies out there who are charging $150, $200 for a sprinkler that takes 5 minutes to fix.
Yeah.
Right. So going from there, I was like, you know what? Let me record this video. Let me teach people how to change their own sprinklers. And I would teach them, and I would get general contractors. I would get landscapers. I would get handymen, come and tell me, hey, don't give them all our secrets. We're not going to have a job. I was like, to think that I was getting more work off of teaching people, because they're like, I really don't want to do that. We'll just hire that gentleman that's showing us how to do it. And they were like, stop telling them our secrets. So my TikTok original name was Remember the Secret, right? I'm giving you all these secrets that the industry is holding back on how to fix certain things that might take you 20, 30 minutes. So I started trying to help people out on fixing their own stuff. Of course, I never recommended to touch electricity or stuff that you really need a licensed professional to do, for the simple fact that I don't want you going through a hard time, But simple things around the house was my strategy behind that. And one day I told my wife, I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep doing this, and ended up monetizing from there, and inspired me to keep going.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. So from the soothing voice, right, to going forward into the inspiration portion, because like it's cool that you were able to make a living off of it, and people were hitting you up to come and do stuff that you basically were teaching them how to do for free, and you were still able to make a living. I think that's the good karma portion of it, right? That you were able to make some money off of it. But the inspirational point of it is like you teaching people how to do something is like, you made it seem like if I can do it, you can do it. And not only can you do it, I'm going to show you how to do it. And I love that, man. Like that's kind of the premise of this whole podcast, is like bringing guests like yourself that you don't mind being that like that vessel of information. Because a lot of people gatekeep. They don't want to show you how to do things. And that's why I loved the like your slogan of like, remember the secret. And I remember watching the videos and hearing you say it, and I'm like, what is he? What is he?
What is the secret?
What is the secret? I'm like, and then that was another ploy where I'm just like, is he like, is this his thing, and how he gets people to keep watching his video? I'm like, next video, where is the secret? Tell me. And then I think there was one of the videos that you explained it, and I'm like, this man is brilliant. And then you earn the follow. For me, like you earn my follow. My wife follows you. And it's so awesome to see. And that's like I said, like that's something that I think when I follow people, when I watch their videos, I always try to find common ground. And that was my common ground with you, whereas like you did, you know how to, get busy around the house and do different things, but at the same time, that being that vessel of information and not trying to get anybody, I think that was super awesome. And then moving along from there, transitioning into other things, like and the people who follow you too, they're going to watch this, right? You have a lot of things going on, right?
Absolutely.
Like you had where you were doing like carpentry, construction stuff. Then you transitioned to something else that you almost got me into. I started looking at trucks and all that stuff. What was that? Talk to us about it.
Okay, so through my life and through my relationship with my wife, I've gone through a lot of things, right? Never afraid. When I first started with my wife, I worked at Disney and did roofing at the same time. And I worked for a company, a multi-million-dollar company, ended up going from installing roofs to running their whole service department. And from there, I transitioned to working in the airline industry. From the airline industry, I had more than enough time to start my landscaping business, which I ended up selling all of my stuff to my brother. I started a landscaping business. From a landscaping business, I was remodeling and repairing homes. From remodeling and repairing homes, we get to what you saw, which was my trucking business, where I ended up buying a hot shot 40-foot flatbed in the back, and was transporting goods across the country. And I went from not knowing anything and not being afraid to starting. It cost me a lot of money to get up because of not knowing, right? So those are things that I'm like, if I went through that and somebody wants to know the proper and no lies behind somebody trying to sell a book or a strategy behind starting your own trucking business, that's what I want to be, right?
Yeah.
So my trucking business, it was going great. Everything was going super good. Of course, the market changed. My truckers from Miami, they started charging way less than they should have. The gas went up. A lot of things ended up happening, which in the beginning of those days, it was great. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there was weeks where $16,000 were made in a week, right? To where there was weeks where I was paying, months where I was paying $7,000 for insurance, and my truck wasn't providing anything.
Wow.
Right. So I saw the highest level of amount of money that you can make to coming out of my pocket, to telling my wife, hey, babe, we're going to have to deal with this because right now the market isn't good. I've had my truck stopped for 2 weeks. So what is it that we're going to do? So we went from going out of our pocket, luckily, the business, we shut it down because it just came to a point where too much money was coming out of the pocket. But in the span of my business, I helped somebody else open up theirs that was very successful, but successful for other reasons, right? So one of my dispatchers was charging us 12% for all loads, right? So 12%. And he was designated dispatcher for me. And one day through a phone call, I said, I know that the name that you're giving me isn't really your name. And if we're going to build trust, you're going to have to give me your name. He's from Pakistan. So he finally gave me his real name. And we kicked it off from there, and he would laugh with me, and he's like, you're the only one who calls me by my real name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, because in order for me to do business with you, you have to open up. I'm talking to somebody who I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So from learning his name, I told him, I was like, why haven't you opened up your own dispatch business? And you're working through somebody else. And he says, I'm just afraid. I don't have the means. I don't have the money. I don't have anything. I said, how about this? I'm going to fund for you to open up your own business, but you're going to charge me 4% for all my loads. What? Instead of 12%. And that's all I'm asking you for. I don't want anything else but for you to lower my percentage. And I'm going to help you with everything else. And when I bring more trucks into the industry, all those trucks will be dispatched by you. And I would recommend you to every trucker that I get. And till today, he has his business and it's running, and I still speak to him today.
What?
And every time I speak to him, he thanks me for giving him the courage to start his own business. And those are the things that I enjoy and love doing in life, right? Because even though it's not money that's going to me, but I made a direct impact to somebody's life.
Yeah. The karma that you're going to get out of that, man, that's a beautiful thing. Like a lot of times, like me and the wife are like that. We'll do things like, and we don't promote it. We just, and I'm not saying that you're promoting it. It's a wonderful story to tell.
And nobody has ever heard this story.
I'm good.
Just so you know.
I'm good. End of interview. That's it. That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. And I got goosebumps. That's how you know it's good. For me. I think that when you lead with good intentions and it comes from your heart, Like I just feel like by the way, I curse a lot, so just in case it comes out. But I'm a very big believer in God. Like everything is because of God, through God. So you'll
Absolutely.
hear me say it a lot. But I think the reason that you're able to go from business to business, and it seems like you find a lot of success, but that's not it for you.
Hmm.
You know, that's from what you're saying, right? And it's the same thing for me because I've jumped from idea to idea. When I was in New York, I was doing Uber, and me fue like in the beginning stage, it was amazing. I was making money all the way up until I had to do a voluntary repossession of a car, and that affected our transition all the way down to Florida when we were buying our house. Like, so I've gone through those same things where like you're trying different things, and for you, what I think is wonderful about your story is that you could almost write a book, bro. Like you've not only have you influenced people, but you've affected people in so many different ways. And what's cool about your story, because people always tell one side, like you're saying, like, "Hey, I'm gonna help you start your business," but this is like a one hand washes the other. You're not gonna charge me the 12%, and drop down to 4%, but I'm gonna help you all the way around. Like, how much more? Like, what more do you want as somebody who wasn't even thinking about opening a business? That dude, that blew me away. I don't even.
Yeah, absolutely. And for most times, even, you know, I could sit here and tell you so many other stories, and then even if I start name dropping of the people who I've worked with, who I started something from nothing to where it's at. I'm gonna give you another story that some people know, not a lot of people, but even I have a cousin who's a very famous cousin who has always wanted to sing her whole life. Who has, right? Who she was back in the day, she took singing lessons and sung with some famous people when she was very young, but became very famous for another reason. She's a very famous lawyer. But then she's like, my passion has always been in singing. And so I started recording some videos at home and saying, hey, I know you're a lawyer, but I hear you like to sing. And I would record her.
I remember these
And
videos. You were
so,
traveling with her at
and
one
I was
point.
traveling with
Yeah.
her a lot for one point. And from there, a very high Spanish news source picked up the videos, posted them. They started interviewing her, and till today, she's a lawyer and an artist. And it's just those little things to where if you today, if we left here and you said, "Hey, I want to be able to reach X amount of people," my first question is, how can I help? Right? I don't look at monetary source. I don't, if that comes, and when it comes, if you said, hey, you help me, this is good, well, welcome to it, right? I'm not going to stop that blessing, but I don't look at things to where I need to get paid in order to do XYZ,
Hmm.
right? Because all that comes behind without you searching for it. I was told, do what you love and the money will come later,
Yeah.
right? So this is what I love. This is media, connecting, being able to help people. If me watching you, me following you, if I see you grow, I feel like there's success in me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because I once sat in this couch, right? I just get happy when other people succeed. Whether it has to do with me or not, I love seeing people succeed.
Damn, bro. Damn. You're. This is the first time you're leaving me stumped. You're leaving me speechless. And I'll tell you why. Um, and I had a question for you, so we can go back to it. But I wanted to ask you what kept you jumping from thing to thing and not just giving up and going the route of getting a job and kind of putting your head down and giving up on chasing something that you're not sure what it is. Because and maybe that's not your story, but I'll tell you, for me, it's like I shared with you, like, and people, I've talked about my lupus and arthritis. I had to put a stop on the things that I was doing with no cleaning, pressure washing, doing woodworking, all this stuff, because it was taking a toll on my body. And I just wasn't, because of the pain and all that stuff, I wasn't happy. So I had to stop. And I had to go and find a corporate job paid me enough where we could be comfortable and stuff like that. So I had to stop that. And then I had to search, because I did hip hop at one point years ago, for something that fed my creative inside, the artist. And I found this, fell in love with it. And so much has come from it, like awesome conversations like this. So before I go off on another tangent, what kept you going?
So it takes you back to my upbringing, right? The easiest, most simplest answer would be my family, my wife and my kids. I got 3 kids. That's the simplest answer. But I'm going to take you back to my upbringing. I come from a family of 8, divorced parents. Ended up wanting to live with my grandparents, lived with my grandparents for a while, lived with my dad, but my dad was never home. I was a paper boy when I was very young in middle school. So my grandfather used to wake up every morning at 4 in the morning to go work. He owned a taxi cab business. And seeing him wake up every morning and going to work and providing for his family was everything to me. So I've worked from a very young age to provide for me and mine, right? So I wasn't born in a gated community. I wasn't born where you were given stuff. In my upbringing, I spent days without food, right? So one of my biggest things, and I've always spoke to my wife about it, my kids will never wonder if they're going to turn off the lights or turn on the lights. They're not going to wonder whether water's going to be running in our household. They're never going to wonder where their next meal is coming from, right? I will provide regardless of what. And I'm going to tell you one thing. My wife is very hardworking. She is the same way I am. So don't think that everything in my household is done through me. She is an animal as well, right? But for me, it's just, if I need to work 3 jobs, I'll work 3 jobs. I just have to make a difference for my kids, right? My kids, my oldest does nails, right? My kids, every time they want something, they know they have to work for it. Even though I have it for them, they know that daddy isn't just going to give me something.
Yeah.
I need to be able to do something in order for daddy to give me XYZ. So that's what keeps me going, is the fact of I want them to not have to go through what I went through, but I want them to understand that it isn't just, okay, well, daddy busted his butt for me not to do XYZ, for me not to wonder. But I have to know what hard work is. I got to know what dedication is. So even for our youngest child, he asked us, he's like, Bob, but why do you wake up at 2 in the morning? I'm like, Bobby, I go in at 4. I get out at this time. Then I go get XYZ. Then I pick you up from school when mommy drops you off. And, I speak to him for him to understand that it isn't just, in my household, we're a team. And we all have to work together in order to accomplish whatever it is. We do a big family trip every year, and we make sure that they know that we're going to work in order for them to have the amenities that they have, for them to have the privileges that they have. But we still require hard work from them.
Can you elaborate on that? Like and the reason I'm interested in that is because we spoil our kids. And I'm not saying you don't, but I like what you're saying as far as like the parent portion of your life and the way you parent your kids. How do you get them to that frame of mind where they think like a team and they're interested in being part of the team? What's that like for you?
So the way that functions for me is, first, I'm a team with my wife, right? All the game planning, everything goes on in our bedroom. We sit down, right? We never argue in front of the kids. We never have adult conversations in the sense of disciplining them or anything in front of the kids, right? So all these conversations happen behind. The reason we've chosen to do it that way is because they'll never know when me and her don't agree. We're always on the same page. We're on the same team. So me and her are the captains. Everybody else plays a role, right? So we go from doing that to letting them know, dishes need to be done. Okay, who's doing the dishes? Which one of you guys? Okay, you perfect. So you're drying them, you're putting them away. So we're all working towards the goal. They don't have a physical job that they report to, but their job is at home, right? If you're at home and you're doing stuff and you're making dishes dirty, then you also have to clean them. And you got to understand that we need to keep our household clean. So when I'm cutting the grass, let me give you an example. Our oldest daughter is a blessing to us. Always pays attention, brings out water, even though she won't grab a trimmer. But she'll make sure that I have my ice cold water. She'll make sure that, she's helping mommy inside of the house or whatever the case may be. Now, my wife will grab a trimmer right behind me while I'm cutting the grass. But that everybody knows that everybody's working and not one person feels like, oh, well, I do this and do that and this person doesn't touch this. No, even our 6-year-old, we may have to go in his room and help him, but he cleans his room. He vacuums. And it just, I know is a little bit more
Tedious. Yeah.
tedious, but we sit in his room and help him clean, right? It may be like, hey, take out everything that's under the dresser. Hey, take out. And even though it may take an extra half an hour, it has to be done because then as he grows, he understands, oh, okay, I remember. Mom always mentions this or dad always mentions this. So in that sense, we get everybody on the same page. But then they also know, listen, we keep this up the way that we're doing great. Where do you guys want to go in the summer? So they pick our destinations. Or, hey, this influencer invited us to this location. Is that what you guys want to do this summer? Yeah, okay, let's go. So they know that one, they get compensated. Two, we always do different trips. And there's a big trip and there's a few little ones in there. Like for Father's Day, we left to Puerto Rico for 4 days to go visit our family land. And we went to Gozalandia and whatnot. And even then, my wife stayed behind, but I took the kids and they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So they always know that in that sense. She's like, Pa, sometimes I talk to kids and they've never traveled. And my kids have been everywhere. They can mention most of the states. My son was like, recently I went to a wedding in Nebraska and he's like, no, Nebraska, what? Like, they're going to states where, even though it's not common to vacation, they can say they've been there.
See, there was something in the last time we spoke. You told me that you were going to Nebraska, something like that, and like you said, like you mentioned something earlier, where it's like when you see people doing good, if you happen to be part of the journey at any point, you look back at that and I'm like, damn, like I was able to touch the couch or whatever it may be. I was able to breathe the same air in that circle, and you feel proud of that. And even if you're not a part of it and you just touch whatever it may be, right? You're happy, and it's about forward movement. I have this big thing at work where I always talk about moving the needle forward. It doesn't matter if it's like a little bit, but if it moved forward, then we celebrate that. When you mentioned the Nebraska, I'm like, there's not and what I'm trying to say here is that there's not an ounce of hate in me. Like I found that so awesome. I don't even know where Nebraska is, but just like the fact that you were gonna be, I'm like, he's going to. I have to talk to him about this Nebraska trip. Like, well, what is it like?
So for me, I
And I know
spent.
I'm sorry, I know that's super random compared to everything else we were talking about. You put it in the DM, and I'm like, I have to ask him about Nebraska.
So 6 years of my life I spent up there. Cool story. I'm born and raised in Puerto Rico. Divorced parents once again. Lived in Milwaukee for a few years. Went back to Puerto Rico. I played football in Puerto Rico most of my life. Because of a friend that went his senior year to Des Moines, Iowa, he got a football scholarship in Nebraska. And he tells the coach, if we need a running back, I have the best running back in Puerto Rico. And I can show you film, and I think you should get him. So I get a call from a college in Nebraska. Hey, would you like to come and play for us? You
Bro,
know,
you are extremely blessed, bro. Your stories,
and
jeez.
and from going from word of mouth from a buddy of mine, I ended up going up there. I earned my scholarship because the scholarship wasn't given. I ended up earning my scholarship, and I was a letterman every year that I played there. I did cheerleading for a year to finish my.
What's a letterman? What is that?
So letterman is for football players or any sport. To have a letter at the end of the year means you played X amount of time, right? So people who are on the bench don't get letters, right? So if you played, if there's 12 games in the year, and you played, let's say 8 with X amount of quarters, then you earned your letter, right? So
That's pretty dope, man. I know.
yeah, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, no, and that's why I tell you, like the curiosity. I'm literally like a little kid, bro.
And that's cool because
Yeah.
these are things that I love for people to, and even then in Nebraska, right?
Nebraska.
I had one of my friend's sister end up going to Ole Miss to play D1 soccer, and with her, I actually helped her make her decision to where she was going. So she called me and she was like, Alex, so how do sports scholarships work? What do I ask them for? Do I want room and board, or do I want books? What like, do I ask for food? Like, what is it? So I sat her and her parents down and I was like, listen, that when you go and they're offering you something, you got to know what they're offering you. Look for this. How many offers do you have? I think she may have had like 4 or 5 offers from different D1s. And I walked her through her whole process. So her whole career, I would watch her and be like, dang, I helped her choose that school.
Yeah,
Right. So that goes
that's
to
awesome.
the little things that you do that touch other people, right? It's like, wow, I can't believe because of our conversations, that's the school that she chose.
Yeah, yeah.
So Nebraska, it's an amazing place. I think it's very important to the U.S. economy, right? They have corn, they make whiskey, they have a lot of cattle. There really isn't anything that I envy from Nebraska coming from Puerto Rico. But a lot of hardworking people live up there. And one of that buddy that ended up helping me for my scholarship still lives up there as a kid and one on the way. And I went to his wedding. So
Nice,
that's
man.
where I was spending my time in Nebraska.
You definitely. I can't say. I think saying character is not it. You're definitely somebody who's blessed, man. Like you're just hearing the stories. It's refreshing to hear somebody. Because I always I'm not I don't I always say tooting my horn, but like I just feel like I'm a very humble person. I have good intentions, little to no malice. Um, and even like today, I was telling somebody at work, which I was like, if people, just conversations and the bickering, I'm like, if people only knew how little I care, and and I mean that in like, the BS.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're having like if there's substance in what we're talking about, my heart is there. And I think it's like just everything you've talked about, bro, has been super positive. Even in when you were talking about the truck, the hot shot, and you said that it was rough, and then like out of like you took, bro, you took us through a journey. Now I don't know if you
Yeah.
noticed, like you took us from saying it was brilliant, you were making like 16 grand a week, and then shifted to it going south, but you provided a miracle for some, like I could see why you're married to him. By the way, his wife is behind the camera, but it's pretty awesome, man. Your story. The other thing that I was gonna ask you, so like continue from there. So you all the way up to where you're at now, because I know you transitioned from Remember the Secret, right, which was how I met you.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't meet me, but I met you. So Remember the Secret, and now you're doing something a little different. So you was the last business that you got into was the hot shot, and that kind of transitioned to something else, or
Yeah, so the last business, official business, right? Because some things overlap. So the last official business was the hot shot. But I've done social media for so long. I run podcasts for influencers. I do photography. I do videography. I travel with influencers and record behind the scenes stuff. I do a lot of stuff outside of what people really see, right? So I'm kind of that jack of all trades. So I ended that, and then because I had a little bit more time, I became a in-flight supervisor for an airline.
Okay.
And now I have 100 people that have direct report to me, but I overlook 1,300 people, right?
Wow.
So we help out 1,300 people, but I have 100 people directly report to me. So it's one of those things where I always maintain occupied. And, you know, if I sit here we chatted a little bit before this, the nonprofit that I want to open to help out young men who don't have father figures in their life. I'm always thinking about the next thing, right? I want to get into insurance for the right reasons, right? I feel like there's certain things that insurances can offer to the right people that will benefit them, right? Because I know that insurance is sometimes life insurance. Some people don't even know what they buy, right? Some people don't even know what they're really getting. They just think, well, if I die, this is going to help me, right? So getting into things for the right reasons. My mentor is the mayor of Kissimmee, and she wants me to get into politics. She says that I'd be a great politician for the right reasons, right?
Yeah.
But politics, and I've come to understand, is a very dirty game. One day you may see me on a ballot somewhere,
Yeah.
right? That day isn't today or tomorrow, but one day you may, right? As long as my family is good with it,
Yeah.
and I have the time to dedicate to that, because I'm also the HOA president of my community, of the board, and sometimes I hate going on a rant like with all the things that I do, because some
Damn,
people, and my wife is smiling back there,
he would
because
be finding me.
some people may be like, like, are you tooting your own horn? Or, and I don't say it to say, I say it to motivate people. Like when people say, oh, I don't have time. What do you mean you don't have time? We have the same 24 hours.
We must be brothers, bro. Jesus Christ. When I tell you, like, so I and I'm sorry, bro, but like, and I want to ask about your nonprofit, but when I tell you, recently I put out like a little clip where I'm saying, when people say they don't have time, right? I think I was relating it to a relationship that I was in years ago before my wife. And the person was like, oh, I don't have time. It's not that you don't have time, is that you don't, what, I'm messing up the way I said it. But it's like, it's not that you don't have time, it's that you don't value what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm messing it up. Like, I had it at the tip of my tongue. But it's almost like you make time. There you go. You make time for the things you want. Right?
Absolutely.
That's why and then I think this may have been before the interview when we were talking. Like, oh no, you mentioned that your son asked you why you get up at 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning.
Right? You want it.
Absolutely.
You know you want to provide, and you want to provide a certain type of lifestyle for your kids, alongside with your wife, right? And that's what I think it is like you make time for the things you want to. Like the whole theory behind not having time, yeah, you haven't cursed once, and I have to break the cycle, but it's bullshit. Because like, even to myself, like sometimes and I tell people this at work too, like sometimes you got to check yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Like you having a pity party and stuff, like you need to tell yourself, like, you have to be your biggest champion. And that's something that I've mentioned on the pod before. But I work a lot when I'm at work. I'm super locked into my job. Like some people say I have tunnel vision, that they don't, like, I don't look up, because I want to do great things, and then I want to be great at whatever it is that I'm doing at that moment, right? Mm-hmm. My work for 8 hours or sometimes 9, I want to do the best I can within that time frame. And then, like, come home tired. I work in Maitland. It's like an hour and a half drive sometimes, and spend time with the family. And then I don't have time for editing, right? So I'm like, what's like taking me from the point of me releasing episodes every couple months to now where I want to release them every week and be consistent at it, is the fact that I'm applying myself. There's no excuse. It's something I want. I'm gonna go after it, and I'm gonna go get it, right? And if that means me staying up till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, editing videos, doing something that I passionately love, then that's what has to be done. Like, we all have time,
Absolutely.
right? Recently, I moved to Kissimmee, and I started drinking a little bit more socially with family. And about a week or two ago, I put myself on a timeout because I'm like, I don't like where this is headed, right? Where you start indulging a little more in alcohol or whatever it may be, because you feel like you're more comfortable in that world. And for me, I'm a clown, whether with alcohol or not. Like, I'm a social butterfly. I like talking smack, like whatever it is. So I love that you said that. Like, the whole theory behind not having time, I think, is BS. Unless you're the president, where you're up until 5 in the morning to get up at 6. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's completely different. And I think that message needs to resonate with everybody out there. Like, we all have time. How, like, so many stories that you've probably heard, I've heard, where single mothers working 2 jobs, having to pick up their kids, like, and putting themselves through school. It's like, bro, I haven't done half of that, and I'm already tired. You know, so like it's all about what you want and how motivated and willing you are to get it. I know that.
Absolutely. And even going further into what you're saying, it's like, I also have my personal trainer certificate. Like I tell you, I can, we can go on. So, I also took a course on, nutrition as well, but it's just the fact, like, when I get people to start training, which, thanks to Jeanette, one of my very good friends, that she is a personal trainer, beast of a woman. You should bring her on your show one day.
Jeanette, you're invited.
Jeanette, there you go. Jeanette, she got me into that whole world. I was already involved in that world, but she got me deeper. We ran boot camps. We changed people's lives. We did a whole bunch of stuff. But when I would speak to family members and I would be like, hey, listen, you need to lose some weight. I don't have time. I don't have this. How many novelas you watch? 2? That's 2 hours on a treadmill.
Damn, I felt when he pointed at me, I felt like he was talking to me. I'm like, I don't know. I watch novelas.
Put the novela on the treadmill. Watch it. Right? Still do what you're doing, but use the time that you have. You know, that doesn't take away from you watching Netflix. You want to watch Netflix? Watch 45 minutes on an episode on a treadmill. Right? There's no excuse. Technology is everywhere nowadays.
Yeah,
there isn't
right.
an excuse for you. And nowadays it's even easier, because if you want a certification, you can Google something. My wife goes to school full time. She takes all my kids to school in the morning. She goes to work where she's one of the bosses there. And she goes to school full time, about to finish her bachelor's. There is no excuse. There is no, and I'm her biggest hype man, because I know at the beginning of our relationship, she couldn't understand that, because I was everywhere, right? And she's like, but how? And how this? And now she's the one giving me a run for my money.
Yeah.
You know, she's doing everything that I'm still doing. And I tell her often how proud of her I am, you know, and it's important for me to let her know that I see all her effort behind that. So the time is there, same 24 hours.
Damn, bro, you're
what
awesome,
you do,
bro.
what
Like,
you do with yours is your option.
yeah, you guys are awesome. And I know, like, sometimes it's a little uncomfortable for a man to tell another man that, but it's true, bro. Like, you're just sitting here talking to you. Like, I would have had this conversation off of camera, off of mic. Like, we would have still had the same type of This is why I love what I do. But you're very interesting, and like it's inspiring to hear everything you're saying, and like even in hearing the relationship that you have with your wife, the way you guys are, like what they say in church, equally yoked. Like, something that I could that resonates with me too is, like, with my wife, when it comes to raising the kids, like, we're always on the same page. Like, even I know a lot of Hispanics out there are gonna say, why didn't you teach your kids Spanish? But sometimes we hit that button when we talk in Spanish just to, like, hash something out, and then we tell the kids, like, no, yes, whatever it is. But that's one thing and I know that's a separate topic, but picking a partner, like, being on the same page is huge. Because if you're over there and I'm over here, and it's very difficult. So just to hear another couple out there, another person who has like, it's not the same life that we're living, but there's a lot of things that you mentioned that resonate with me, and just like that hustle, that drive, that, like, even when I told you earlier, like, I don't like giving excuses. It's very similar, man. But just to touch base before we wrap up and stuff, couple things, right? Number one, tell us about the nonprofit. Like, what's the reason behind you wanting to go down that path? Being that we could say that you've had lucrative companies that you've started and different things that you're going for. Like, why go to a nonprofit?
So basically, the reason why, so I haven't officially started. I have a logo. We have everything, but still haven't registered it, right? Because I'm working all the kinks out behind everything. And part of my new slogan that I've been using on social media ties into all of that. But the reason why I want to do that is because I'm a math major, right? So my bachelor's is in math education. So I've always thought behind, man, nobody taught me this. When I purchased my home, nobody taught me what to look for when purchasing home. Nobody ever taught me what credit was. Nobody ever taught me anything because my parents didn't know, right? I've purchased my home before my parents, and this isn't to like minute what my parents did, right? Because their lifestyle was different. Their upbringing was different. This is just to say that I didn't have a guide, right? I was my own guide. And it was either I learn it or use that as an excuse the rest of my life, right? So me having to guide myself and learn and sit there and understand. And then it was like between me and my wife, the blind leading the blind, because my wife has a similar story. You know, my wife didn't have her parents there the whole time, or didn't have the guide to do everything that she had to do in life. So it was either we learned and we did it, or nobody was going to do it for us. We weren't going to wait for somebody to send a boat to help us from drowning. We were going to learn how to swim. So we purchased our home, did everything that we had to do. Come to say, I've wanted to create this nonprofit to help young men. You know, head of households nowadays are lacking in a lot of things. They haven't been guided the correct way. And I feel if we get these young men on the right path, we'll build a better community. Right. And when I say community, I'm not talking about Kissimmee. I'm not talking about Poinciana. I mean a community of men of good. Right. And knowing that, like you say, it's hard. You said this earlier, and it's hard for a man to tell another man how they inspired him or how good they're doing or whatnot. And that's why the nonprofit, and that's why the videos are coming up. Right. My slogan at the end is Vamos Varón, right? Which means like, let's go, man, or let's go, gentlemen, in Spanish. So I want to motivate our gentlemen to grow up and be men to inspire other men, right? To not be afraid to tell them, hey, listen, like, I was inspired by you, or I'm definitely rooting for you, or I got your back. Like, I enjoy what you're doing, you know, keep doing what you're doing. So I want to be able to motivate and be able to touch other people and help. And the suits just comes with, me always saying, you dress for the position you want, but not the one that you have. Right. So, and if I represent 1,300 crew members and we expect them to look good for the people, then we should look good for them.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the reason why I wear suits. And now, obviously, I know the owner of the store from the suits that I buy, and they always look forward to seeing me there.
That's cool.
So, I have that contact already. Plus, I want to build men of good. So it's like, let's teach them. Let's Let's guide these men. Let's be mentors. And then let's put a twist on it. Let me suit you up for your first interview, for your first prom, for whatever it may be, right? Let me give you a suit. There's people who will never wear a suit their whole life, right? Or who have never owned a suit, So that's the reason behind the nonprofit, the slogan, and everything that I want to accomplish moving forward.
That's awesome, man. You know what's funny about wearing suits? Like, anytime I've worn a suit, and I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but I hope it is. Like, it brings a smile to your face, and I think that's the part that when you were mentioning that you want to provide people, and you're talking about giving them a suit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also like giving them a smile. Like, you look at yourself in the mirror, and it's a different version of you that's in the mirror, and that's something that, like, whenever I wear a suit, I always think mob movies and stuff like that. But it's so, like, that's the flyness, the positive parts of watching those type of movies. It's like you wear a suit, it's like you clean up nice. It's just a different look. You feel like you're ready to conquer the world. So I think that's super positive that you're trying to do that. And like, to piggyback on that too, is that's why the pod is here, to influence people and to be a vessel of information and to inspire people. Even when I had the window cleaning company, pressure washing, like, I would get up 5 a.m, I'd be at the gas station fueling the car, and I would jump on social and talk to people. Like, on a Saturday, I'm like, wake your ass up. Like, you can't pay a bill. Why are you sleeping? During COVID, and I've shared this story, but I'll share it with you. My wife got furloughed 50%. Bunch of people got laid off. We didn't miss no meals by the grace of God, but something in me, this is before I started the pressure washing company, and prayer and stuff like that. I've always wanted to start my own company, of something. And because she was furloughed, like, money was already designated. So I got a job doing Domino's deliveries. And everybody's like, why are you doing that? Somebody at the time also told me, like, oh, I would never do that. And I'm like, I'll do anything. Clean toilet, whatever it takes. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Like, my I love spoiling my kids. And I said that earlier. And spoiling my wife, right? So I don't want none of that stuff to stop. But there's a different mission in hand where I want to start a business. So I did what I had to do, sacrifice time with my family to be able to go ahead and get that done. And that's why I think a lot of people need guidance. And it's like, so you have to do what you need to do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Right. And that growing pain and that sacrifice is where people get it twisted, whereas, like, you want the reward without putting in the work. It doesn't really work that way. And that's why I think sometimes my message gets misconstrued, because I'm very big on tough love. I'm very direct. Like, if I feel like somebody's full of shit, no tengo pelo en la lengua. Like, it's just gonna, just in my demeanor and the way that I am is like, if I'm at work, you have to be professional, and I'll be in the same room breathing the same air. But on a personal note, you won't catch me around somebody that the vibe.
Absolutely. And me and my wife, we're the same way, right? And, not to bring family stuff into all of this, but, when I get asked, Alex, you don't come around as much anymore. You don't do this. You don't do that. You've changed. Absolutely. Because I'm working on my household, right? I don't drink. I don't smoke. I can have a drink with you, a social drink, 1, maybe 2 at the most. My wife says I act a little silly after the second one. So it's very rare for me to do things where it's taking away from what I love to do, which is, if it's not spending time with my family, it's editing. It's looking at how I can start a new business. It's looking on how I can help somebody else. It's looking at all these other things rather than me just going out and drinking, right? Spending $1,800 at a club on a few bottles. And for what? What are we really getting out of it? Unless we're signing a multi-million-dollar contract, then I'm not spending $1,800 on a few bottles.
And even then,
I think about it. I'll be like, that much? No, and for those people who have been around me know that, I don't add to any of that. I really try to stay away, right? This definitely, I can see where you're gonna end up with this podcast, right? And I'm not just
Don't make me
saying it,
cry, dog.
and
'Cause
I'm not
I'm not
just
a crier, but
I'm not just saying it to toot your horn or to say I saw a benefit of me being there. I say it with all honesty, right? From watching your videos to seeing your setup to seeing your passion behind it. I can see where this can take you, right? And I definitely wanted to be a part of it. And I think that you can also do great things, and it may turn into a partnership where me and you do other stuffs, and you become a mentor for one of my kids in
yeah,
in
man.
in my nonprofit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see where this takes us.
Yeah, yeah. It's something I said behind the scenes too. I was like, I forgot what I think we're talking about one of the cameras. Well, I only have two cameras. This guy has, but I was showing him the Osmo Pocket, and I'm like, if we become friends, then I'm the worst friend, and I think it's yin and yang here because like I was showing him this camera, the Osmo Pocket, and I'm like, all the accessories for it. I get like my same setup my friend has too, because I'm like, yo, you gotta get this. But yeah, I like the influence and stuff, like the inspiration, and everything you spoke about, man. Like it really hit for me. Like all the positive and great things. Like I want to hear so much more of not the portion of how you benefited from things, but the things that like may have gone, like the story you mentioned. It kind of went south a little bit, but you flipped it and created something so positive. And I'm sure just based on the stories you've said, like there's more of those,
Oh
and we'll
yeah,
save those. But
a lot more.
I love that you were able to come on the show, man. And I really appreciate that you took the time to come out here. I know it was like a 45-minute drive, but I think it was well worth it. And I can't wait for people to hear and see this, because I think there's a lot of good that came out of this conversation, and the positivity that you're bringing onto this too, man. The last thing too, tell us. I know that the transition went from "Don't Forget the Secret," right?
Hmm.
To now,
Remember the secret.
remember the secret. To now, Vamos
Vamos,
Varón,
Varón.
right? So where are we in now? Like I know for the people that watch you, because now like anybody who follows you that's new, they're gonna know you for Vamos Varón. Where's that from? Like what is your message
So
there?
so that comes from working with a lot of influencers, right? We're talking about influencers with millions of followers who I won't mention their name, right?
Mhm.
Uh, different different influencers, and me having a conversation with my wife, speaking about our own social media, right? We've grown our following in YouTube to 17.8K. We have 144,000 on TikTok. So we've grown our social media. And she says, she tells me, we use the word influencer loosely, right? Who are they really influencing? What person is influencing to do what? Out of everybody that you follow, everybody that you've worked with, what are they influencing, right? So the Vamos Baron started where, in June nobody speaks about mental health,
Mm.
especially for Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, right? Which I think is very important, and that touches very close to my heart. And my wife telling me this, I'm like, you know what? I can still make videos with my kids and my family and our traveling and all of that, but I need to make a switch to where I'm actually influencing people, whether it's a message that I may bring that changes a mindset or just a message that they needed to hear. And, giving you the behind the scenes with the Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, I had a gentleman tell me that he didn't want to live anymore,
Mm.
right? And which I personally was able to get on the phone with him and hear it from his own mouth. He didn't want to live anymore. He was going through a divorce. His kids, he had lost his job. He was just going through a lot. And he said 2 days ago, I didn't want to do it anymore. And I saw your video. Right. And that's the true definition of being able to influence somebody. Right. So whether I have 3 million followers or 1,000 followers, that counts for more than any view can ever
Yeah.
count. Right. That counts more than any monetary value. That counts for way more than you can ever imagine. And in some sense, I may think that it's kind of selfish because it makes me feel good, right? But that selfishness is helping somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. That's deep, man. To be able to, and I know that we spoke about that offline, but at the same time, just to be able to be a real influencer, like a real person, because a lot of times influencers were like, people are promoting products, trying to get people to buy certain things, but to really be an influencer and spread positivity, again, like that positive portion of what I feel like you bring to the table, onto social, you saved a life.
Absolutely.
Whichever way people want to take that, it's the truth, because you spoke that. What makes it even deeper is you spoke to the person, and like if I was in your shoes, I would find that hard to believe that something I said was able to influence somebody to that point that they reconsider the choices that
And
they
let
were
me
about to
tell you, I
make.
was choked up the rest of that day.
Yeah,
Just because I got on the phone and actually spoke to that person, I was choked up. Right? There was nothing that I could think about that wasn't that. It's like, wow, like I felt like a superhero with no cape. You
yeah,
know,
man.
and once again, I say it may be selfish, but it made me feel great inside. Right? I really accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and it's changing people's lives.
Yeah, and take that, man. Like to take that as a testament that you're on the right path. And I just, like, like it seems like all the things again that you've been doing, you've gotten validation, and it's almost like God's bringing you to the next thing, and the next, getting like almost like molding you. You know, I always think about the movie Ghost with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, where they're molding the stuff, but it's the same thing. He's molding you. He's adding different things that you need to get that finished product of what you're ultimately gonna be doing. But you're already on that, in that journey of serving your purpose, because you've touched different people throughout your journey, which is amazing, dude. And like, give yourself that pat. I almost said the F word, but toot your horn, man, because you deserve that. And it's not so much about tooting your horn, but like also appreciating the man that you are, right? And I think that's also part of helping other men. It's okay to give yourself worth. It's orgullo of knowing who you are, right? And I'm not gonna prolong this any further, but like that's something that I shared with my followers and just on my pod, of realizing that age doesn't determine whether you're a well-rounded man or whatever it is, but in helping young men, in this case, madurar. It's always hard for me to say that in English, but like coming to that,
To mature,
to
to grow.
mature. Like, see, like for me, yo no maduré. I didn't become a full-rounded man until I hit 30, and I moved down to Florida with my family, and I was on my own, and I had to figure it out with me and my wife.
Mm.
Right. I do give her credit, but like I have, what you did earlier was like, it's not just me. And same here. It's not just me. My wife is literally when they say the cliche of like my rock, she's the one that puts, when my battery's running out, she'll go and switch it. He's like, all right, send me on my way. But I think that's important too, within the organization that and I'm pretty sure you're already there with it, is in helping and pushing people forward. Right.
Absolutely.
Um, the last thing I'll say, and I know I said that twice already, is Ruby Perez, right? The merenguero that passed away in that tragically, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was, and then this is when I started watching his interviews. He was in an interview with a podcaster, right? And the one I watched was already once the podcaster kind of blew up. And the guy asked Ruby Perez, like, when I first got started, why did you give me a shot? Like, he was just fantastic at what he did. His voice just So he was in an interview. He tragically passed away. Rest in peace to him. Beautiful man too. But anyway, so the podcast was like, why did you give me a shot when I first got started? And like, you didn't have to do that. Like a man from your stature, the success that you had, like you didn't have to do that. He said, because my job is to send people forward and push them forward. It's not to stop you. Like, so who knows if I would have never done that for you and stopped for those 10, 15 minutes and done that interview with you, if you would have stopped. And then we would never have the gift of having you of where you're at now and the influence that you have for others. And I think that's what we have to do when we deal with, just as humans, man, pushing each other forward, right? There's always, and I say this at work too, like, because I manage a group of people, and I'm like, there's always feedback. There's always a different way to do something and something, to improve. But just instead of pushing people down, just push them forward. And I think that's
absolutely. And just going based off of everything that you're saying is, the opportunity, just, I want to say thank you again for the opportunity of being in your podcast. But as you saw, I'm a very organized person, right? And I was here 4 minutes early. I tend to never take up time that isn't mine, right? If I've worked with so many influencers that they say, hey, be here at 9, we don't start till midnight, right? So I always want to keep in the mindset of it's your time that I'm wasting and you'll never get that back, right? So when you said, hey, 7:30, I'm here at 7:26, and the only reason I didn't come even earlier was because I was waiting for my wife to get out of work. Because if not, we would have been there.
Yeah.
And, so thank you for considering my time. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for opening your space.
Yeah, 100%.
For me to be able to speak to these people.
And I know I said the last one, but I have to bring this up. So I had invited Alex maybe 2 weeks ago. He followed up with me. And this is the part where I say, like, sometimes you have to check yourself, take ownership, accountability for the things that you do and your brand. Branding is everything, right?
Absolutely.
And if I could have sent you flowers, bro, I probably would have sent you. But last minute, I canceled. And something that I do all the time is I spread myself super thin. My mom was here for me. All the excuses I could give you, like all of them, right? And the issue lies here is he reached out. He's like, hey, are we still on tonight? And I was like, I gave him an excuse. A man that prides himself in not giving excuses. And I'm not sure if you were busy or not, but I thought I lost him, right? And I was so happy to have him on the pod. And I spoke to a friend of mine, told him the story. I'm like, yeah, this guy that I follow on social, I told him not going to do it, so I'm going to try to see if we could do it. He's like, yo, player. And we call each other player. He's like, come on, man. What are we doing? Like, do you want to do... Like, he gave me a whole speech that I usually give other people, like an earful. And I'm like, damn.
So, honest truth, you almost lost me.
Yeah, no.
And if it wasn't for that lady right there,
yeah,
I was like, babe, can you believe that?
Yeah.
Like, I understand things do happen.
Yeah,
but
it's unprofessional.
I was already holding you to a very high standard from watching you and you reaching out. And I was like, man, like, the standard in which I was holding you. Yeah. And then that happened. And I was like, I'm not responding to any of his messages. And wifey was like, babe, don't do that. Because you never know. You never know what situation they were in, whether feel it out, pray it out, just go. And when you gave me the most sincere apology, I read it. I held a grudge for 5 seconds, and I was like, "I'm responding. I'm gonna respond." No, and you got me back. You reeled me back in after.
And I think it's important to share it because it's and again, no excuse. Respecting time. And I love that you even brought that up, and it allows me to be vulnerable. And it is human, but again, with the things like if you make time for the things you want to do, and yes, like spreading yourself thin. Okay, cool. But if it's something you really want, then that's part of you spreading yourself thin. Like, you got to get it done.
Absolutely.
And shout out to my boy Juan P, who's like, you got to respect people's time. And that's what struck a chord. And once I hung up the phone, like, I didn't want to talk to him. And that's generally how I process things. Like, I'm like, when something really strikes a chord with me, I'm like, I don't even want to talk to the person for a little bit. Like, I'm like, I need a minute to just digest this. And then I'm like, I'm not encouraging driving and texting, but as I was at the light, and I was like, I'm gonna give this guy a heartfelt text of, I genuinely, I was like, dude, I apologize. And I'm like, I apologize. I meant no disrespect. I'm like, I didn't take your time into consideration. If I was already spreading myself, I should have reached out in advance to let you know. And I'm like, I understand if you don't. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I think it was along those lines. I get it. I completely get it. And you are right to not answer or whatever it is. But if you do find it within your heart, like, please, I would love to have you on the podcast. And thank you for accepting the apology. And then, like, that's what I'm saying about, like, being a salesperson and not caring if somebody says no. It's the same kind of energy when it comes to being in the wrong and taking accountability. Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be so, like, but just owning it. Like, I had to own the fact that I didn't keep my word, and I pride myself in being a man of my word and doing all these things, and I didn't stand on business, as the young cats say.
Absolutely.
And I had to own it, bro. And I'm glad that I was able to apologize and you were able to receive that. Thank you, wifey, for working that magic for me. But yeah, man, I'm so happy that you came out. I'm so glad that I found you on TikTok, or maybe the wife found you. I don't know who found it, but like, you just been a positive light to the Madrid household. And just thank you, bro. Thank you. And I wish you nothing but success and blessings on everything you're about to embark on, and even the things that you're doing currently, from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, bro.
Absolutely. And the same thing goes for you and your household, right? I can't wait to see all the impact that you can have here on your podcast. Definitely am looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. If I could do any, like, and God willing, because I always pray about it, like, this is what I want to do for, like, to make a living off of and all that. Like, you heard it here. Like, anything I could do to further your cause, you got me. Now we have each other's phone number.
Absolutely.
We may be friends against your will, but yeah, man. But thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.